Hello there, I'm Sir Fancy, and today I will show you best setting for Oculus Quest. I know that I have best setting in the title of the video, but let me tell you a little dirty secret. There is no such a thing as best setting, I just have it there so you click on the video. But by now I made around 15 or 16 minigames on Oculus Quest and most of them run pretty smoothly. Mostly. So let me share with you how I have set up my project settings so it somewhat runs. So first thing you will have to look into are of course plugins. So if you go into Edit and Plugins, first of all, let's look into Oculus, and just to be sure, I am using version 4.27 and I would recommend you to use 4.27 or newer. You can use it with older versions, but some settings will be only in this one or newer. So in our plugins, let's find here some Oculus. And first of all, make sure that you enable OpenXR. Right now it's just in beta, but you can be pretty sure that all VR devices are going to switch into OpenXR. Just a quick explanation, OpenXR is basically just common mapping that is used in VR controllers, so Trigger always does same thing on all controllers, etc, etc. So make sure to enable it, and probably also enable Oculus spatialization. If you are making it for Oculus Quest, it will sound a bit better. So let's enable both of them. We can ignore this beta thing, we are all Sigmas here, so let's enable that. And you can ignore restart because we'll have to do it later. Then I would probably go into world settings, so in window, world setting, and make sure that you have here selected correct game mode, correct default pawn, blah blah blah, all this funny stuff. Now to things that will actually help you. Let's go into edit and project setting. Just a quick stop in maps and modes, make sure that you have your correct map so it starts properly. Then let's switch into packaging. And what you will have to set up here is switch build configuration to shipping once you are actually shipping. If you are just testing, leave it like this. Enable full rebuild. You don't really have to do that, but I would definitely recommend you to do that if you are making your final build of the game. And then of course enable for distribution. You can also use blueprint navigation, which will basically take all those blueprints and navitize them. I can say that, I'm sorry. What it will basically do is to put them into pure C++ code, so it should be a bit faster. Alright, now into target hardware. Probably fastest will be to click here on mobile or tablet and switch it to scalable 3D and 2D. It will switch most of these things, and of course you should restart the editor, but I will just apply it later. Now if we scroll down, let's get to rendering, because that's where most of the performance will be taken from. But this will help you a bit if you don't have fog in the game, and probably I wouldn't put fog into Oculus Quest game. It will take quite a bit of a performance. Now, maximum number of CSM cascades to render, you can switch it to 1. It will give you some increase on performance, but it will probably decrease the quality of light a bit. So I would probably think about putting it on 1 and 2 and see what looks better. Well, 2 will definitely look better, but 1 will give you more performance, so think about how much you need it. But if you don't have any lights, you have unlit materials, you can just put it into 1. Now mobile MSA, it switches to no MSA, which is definitely not gonna be the case. We are going to use, it's 4 by default, but I would definitely recommend you to switch it to 2 or no MSA in worst case scenario. But I would definitely recommend you to have here at least 2 of them. 4 in the best case scenario, but 2 will work. Now in the support movable lights, ideally you wouldn't have any moving lights in the game. Try to get rid of them as much as you can. I get it that sometimes you really need it, but try to find a way around that. So maybe create particle effect or something like that, because in that case you can just disable that and don't have there any moving light at all. Now let's scroll down a bit, let's leave everything as it is. You can lower a reflection capture resolution, so let's say to something like 32. It will decrease all the baked reflections, but it can help you with performance a bit, so maybe I would think about it. If you don't have enough space in the memory, then lowering this will definitely help. And now to the big guns, forward shading. Make sure that you enable forward shading. Don't use anything else for VR games. Definitely use forward shading for any mobile game for that matter. If you enable it, Unreal will use different renderer to render the whole scene. One that is used for mobile devices, so it's much more performant, blah blah blah. We can leave all of this as it is, and now we get to VR setting. Let's enable instant stereo. That will do some magic in the background, so you don't have to render 2 separate for each eye, but some of them combined, blah blah blah. And make sure that you disable mobile HDRI. If you want to have it enabled, you can have neon things and emissive stuff, etc, etc. You can consider that. I did it for some games, but I wouldn't do that. If you want to do that, you need to have a really light game. Everything else needs to be super easy to render. And now if you disable it, you can also enable multi-view, which will also help you with rendering meshes, I think. And one thing that I skipped is HMD fixed formation level. You set it as high as you want. Medium is probably a good idea. It works sometimes it can look really bad. You need to test it. All of this stuff you have to of course test. So let's say around medium. I will put a picture somewhere on the screen what it does. It basically blurs everything that you are not directly looking at, so it saves the performance. Now if I keep scrolling down, that's probably around everything. If you are not using any movable lights, you can disable it here, set this thing to 0. Don't support directional light. Oh, you have to you don't want to support movable directional light, and and you don't want to support any form of movable light. Anything that's transparent or has any sort of translucency is a huge performance killer, so try to not do that. Sadly enough, that's also sometimes particles, so try to not use that if you can. Now let's just quickly jump into Android setting, and that will be it. So in Android setting, blah blah blah, let's scroll up. You can leave everything as it is, switch install location to auto, then minimum SDK let's set to 29 and 29. If you are developing for different headset than Oculus Quest, you will probably have to find here different stuff, but it will be always in documentation sites of that hardware. And you want to package game inside APK, if you can do that, definitely do that. But I think that the limit for VR game is like 1 GB, so it should be completely alright, so try to package everything in there. If you will want to save any data, you will have to enable this thing. I have made a tutorial how to save stuff, so you have a link somewhere here. Now about sensor landscape, you will have to switch it to a landscape, I believe. You don't have to do that if you are making it just on Edge or on SideQuest, but if you want to publish it on Apple, you will have to switch it to, I believe it's landscape. Now keep scrolling down. Let's disable RMV7. We don't support it anymore, and let's leave it only 64. Now in advanced APK packaging, what you want to do is remove Oculus signature from distribution APK. You can set it up, enable it, but you will have to disable it again once you want to publish it on Apple. And of course, package for Oculus mobile devices. Let's add here Oculus and Oculus Quest. Alright, and that should be it. One more thing that I will show you is how to preview how your game will look like in Oculus Quest, because it definitely won't look like this because we're using different renderers. So you just have to click on setting and put here preview rendering level, switch it to Android. It will take a while, but now it will switch into exactly how it will look like on your Oculus Quest. So you can more optimize lighting and stuff like that. You can also expect that you will have to compile all the shaders that you have, so about 12,000, or depends how much you have in your game. Be prepared that it will take a while. But that's everything for this tutorial. I hope that this was helpful for you, that now you have best setting for Oculus Quest, and that's it. See you around. Huge thank you to people who support me on Patreon. They are somewhere here on the screen, and that's it. Sir Fancy out.